Our next speaker, if you've been to Silver River Park, state park in the last 20 years. I hope that you enjoyed the Silver River Museum and Environmental Educational Center. Guy Marwick was the founding director of that museum, and it's quite fascinating. They have a great partnership with the schools. He's currently the director of the Feldman Foundation, and he's been long involved with the protection of Silver Springs, the Silver River, with land buying, protecting the land, and protecting it from development, as well as organizing folks like every one of you in this room to be part of the solution. And I welcome Guy Marwick.
Thank you very much. It really is a pleasure to be here and see a good full house. The one thing that concerns me the most is following these two. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation, and I just came here to tell you a few things that I feel in my heart and from my experiences at Silver River. I was a scuba diver and spent a lot of time from the early 70s diving silver in the Ocklawaha. Had a chance one summer to swim from Silver Springs to Rodman Dam, a couple miles a day on the bottom. And so I've seen the changes, and they've been gradual. They're so gradual that you almost don't notice unless you've been away for a couple of years and you come back and you realize things are missing and things are visible. I just went back on the river Saturday a week ago, and I was appalled at the lower end of Silver River. There was no white sand showing. It had changed. The beautiful glistening white sand that reflects the sunlight back up through the water was all blanketed in green. And it was the first where I had seen it that bad. I mean, it's been gradual, as I said, but it was a real shock to me. And that river is dying, and it's dying on our watch. It's dying while many of us, and there's a room full of people here that y'all could be doing something more exciting than being here tonight, but you care and you're concerned, and as all of us are. And so we need to be not only aware of the science, and I think you need the science because you're going to need it when you leave this room tonight, and hopefully tomorrow when you get on the phone and you talk to your legislators, and when you talk to the politicians, and some that you know personally and others that are all listed in the phone book or on several sheets of paper that you were given when you came in the door, you need to talk to and email the governor's office and write him, Adam Putnam, Commissioner of Agriculture. There's enough people in this room right here to really change things. I've been always amazed. We've had these small groups when we had the Silver Springs Basin Working Group that we formed in the mid-90s. And we started with about a dozen people, and then we got to 20 or 30. But we were persistent. Some people would call us pesky, but we were persistent. And we were able to get some movement in the right direction, some land development regulations in Marion County. They formed a committee, and we proposed things. Some of those passed. Some of them were withdrawn after the county commission found themselves being attacked by developers who didn't want interference, even though they had their attorneys on our Land Development Regulations Committee working for a consensus. It's still, we lost ground. It's like it seems like you can go 2 steps forward. I think sometimes we go 1 step forward and now we're going 2 steps backward. We're really losing ground in Florida. The springs are dying, and it's going to really be up to us. When I first got involved with the springs, I think other than just as a kid swimming there and coming up there to enjoy them from South Florida where I was from, but as I got older and I saw what happened in Broward County where I grew up, I was glad to be out of there, and I moved to the Ocala National Forest where I live today with my wife, who's back there somewhere. And I started to realize that the battle was going on up here. Got involved. I had a friend one time call me, and he said, Silver Springs, Silver River, there's a group of developers looking at building condominiums and houses along Silver River. And contacted some friends, Some of them you would probably know here in Jacksonville, John Hankinson, who's been around for a while, and Jim Buckner and Bob Simons and some others. And they literally got started with the acquisition of the first 2,400 acres of Silver Springs as a grassroots movement. They got the state to buy it. We went to some meetings and held up some placards, but a small group, they really took that and ran with that first acquisition. Then others of us came along and worked. We found out that the upper 1,100 acres, which was the head springs, that wasn't purchased. And so some of the people in the room, John and Susan Dunn and others, Bob Stenstream back here, worked on getting the state to buy the head springs and that 1,100 acres. And during having the working group, and that was through Florida Forever funding and partnerships that we were able to put together. And I thought, boy, we got the head springs. The springs are now protected. Boy, did I have a lot to learn. The springs weren't protected. Right away, the county commission was looking at a 2,000-acre landfill on some of what Mr. Stronach has just bought, which was largely wetlands. A good kayak paddle from Silver Springs at high water, you could literally kayak from that landfill into a creek that comes into Silver Springs. Bad location. We fought it. The management of Silver Springs at that time was opposed to it. They realized it would impact the spring, and they helped with a lady from Jacksonville who was an attorney and did a wonderful job. 60 days away from them closing on that 2,000 acres, our commissioners realized the truth. One of them, who later became the Speaker of the House and who has done nothing to protect springs since, Larry Creedle, flew over the property, and he was at that time a county commissioner, and he said, "Guy, you were right. We just had a lot of rain. That place all looks like a lake." That's Flatwoods up there, where Mr. Stronach's wanting to build. It's Flatwoods. It drains into the Ocklawaha, and it drains into Silver River. So when we get a huge amount of rain, whether it's a hurricane or just heavy rainfall from storm of the century or whatever, there's no containing the sheet runoff that's going to come off of that property. And if you've got 750,000 pounds of manure a day, God help those rivers and those creeks and those wetlands. And it all flows into two OFWs, outstanding Florida waters. It will be the absolute straw that broke the camel's back. His proposal is not the only one that's of danger to Silver Springs, and it's not the only thing we need to be aware of. But I will say that it would be the final straw, in my opinion. I've just seen too much change too rapidly. And so with this ongoing kind of attack on our resources, where it seems like you no longer fix one thing or interfere and stop something else that would have been really bad. I mean, the state has spent over $150 million buying land in and around Silver Springs to preserve it. They spent $76 million to buy a 4,600-acre parcel of land owned by Avatar, a construction company that was vested for 10,000 houses and 1 million square feet of commercial. $76 million was spent to take that away from development, and it's now called Indian Lake State Forest. And that property starts about a mile from Silver Springs, and it runs north of there, and all along the side of it is Rainier property, much of it which Mr. Stronach has either purchased or is in the act of purchasing. So we spent all that money, $76 million, the third largest acquisition in the history of Florida financially for one parcel of land, and yet we're welcoming what it was purchased to prevent. We're welcoming, the opposite with open arms. It's like the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing. I think that to wrap up what needs to be said tonight, everybody in this room needs to think about when you leave here tomorrow, what are you going to do? Who are you going to contact? How many phone calls and emails? And will you stick with it? we've been fighting some of these battles on the river and the springs, and many of you out there probably a lot longer than me. I'm just a very young kid and, haven't been around that long. But I didn't hear too much chuckling on that one. But I know that there's a lot of good-hearted people that have been involved for many years. You've got to really, we can't just accept that, well, we're concerned and we'll make a couple of calls and call it a day or write a letter. You need to stay on this one. We all need to stay on this every day. You can't do it every day, but a couple times, twice a week, take 15, 20 minutes. You'd be surprised how many offices you can call in a 20-minute period, and how many irate messages, I might add, you can leave. And sometimes you don't always have to be irate. You can, Bob and I have found that you can sometimes meet with legislators and their eyes have been closed and they didn't know. And I do think we can educate people too. And so part of it needs to be that. Try that first. If it doesn't work, we're going to hand out wooden stakes in the back and you can take it from there. But I think that the real facts are that you must get involved and you must stay involved. And if this takes 2 or 3 years. So contacting politicians is one thing. Let me first say, I'm not on the board of the Silver Springs Alliance. I decided not to be on this board for other reasons, but to be involved with the issues. And so I'm not speaking for the Silver Springs Alliance when I bring up my next little comment. I have supported and am behind a group that will propose the legal challenge to this, Southern Legal Council. And if you want to take a part in helping financially, because I think, sad to say, but it appears that the only way this may get stopped is by legal challenges. And I think it's long overdue. I think Florida has not had enough of those. Our governor has not had much luck on his side of all the legal challenges that have come his way. And I think this one, if we can't win this one, and God help us all, and I don't know where we're going to have to move, but it'll have to be somewhere else because it will be over here. So Southern Legal Council is a legal firm that is going to do this pro bono. They're working out of Gainesville. And if you want information about writing a check in the back, I'm not here representing the foundation either, of which I'm the executive director of the Felburn Foundation, so I'm not representing them either. And I don't want you to think that. But I will say that our board was kind enough to put up a $40,000 matching grant for hiring science and good science to help in the legal challenge if need be, if it comes to that. And that matching grant will, for every dollar you put in, up to $40,000, another dollar comes in. So if we can get $40,000 raised, that'll be an $80,000 kitty towards this project that's going to need every bit of the help we possibly can muster. So please do what you can in any way that you can, but just be out there. Everybody's got a phone, got computers. Use them, and let's stay on this like nothing we've done before. This needs to be your challenge. That's your assignment. Thank you very much.